This is just an update on where I'm at with the garage and also my little lab outside. One of my friends asked to see what it looks like to get a better idea of how I've got it all set up. The garage, I've finally got to the point where I've got pretty much all the things that need to be in here are in here, and all the things that need to be in my little lab outside are out there, which has freed up a lot of room. I'm still figuring out exactly where things need to go, as in shifting things around within here and where stuff goes, but I'm slowly getting there. I'm still waiting to get hold of some plywood so that I can screw the brackets that hold all of this loose steel. That's all going to go up on here once I get some wood to sort of enclose that in and give me somewhere solid to screw the brackets to. This bookcase just needs repainting. That's going to go in the house actually. I'm still sorting out all of the parts that I got. The engine and the head and things like that, they'll probably just end up going on the shelf as spares. I've cleared a space down over there for those. I'm slowly sorting out where all the different parts and things like that go. I still have a ton of these boxes to sort through. I think most of these are Riley things. Some of them are just boxes full of nuts and bolts and old hardware and stuff like that. I think the bottom two there is all that stuff. That top one is actually all the supercharger gear for the Austin 7. I need to move those other two lower boxes and put them up there so I can start sorting out all the nuts and bolts. All the old Austin 7 stuff is sitting in there now. And I've been kind of making do with different sorts of shelving. This shelving I bought, this is quite good, solid industrial type stuff. It all fits together with these tabs, so it's really easy to put together. Similar to this kind of stuff. All of the different cheap places you can buy stuff from, the hardware shops, so Bunnings, Mitre 10, Super Cheap Auto, Repco, they all do their own different versions of this stuff. And I actually just ended up buying this weekend from the warehouse, so it was really cheap. This shelving to use as book shelving just in the corner there. And for the price, it's fine. It works reasonably well. This is my pile for the tip, and that's a pile of cardboard we're going to use in the garden. You can see I've moved the Riley from here to here now. It has its own carpet, so I'm still just figuring out the rear mounts here. Once I get those rear mounts done, then I can start. I'll probably have to strip this all down again, paint the chassis, and then I can start assembling it as a rolling chassis. That'll be a major milestone, really. I'm still trying to figure out which drop arm is correct for a Brooklands. So the drop arm is the arm that goes from the steering box here down to the drag link, which is this. And this basically goes from that arm down there onto the steering arm here, and that's what connects the steering box to the front axle. So just move that. These are both Riley 9 steering arms, but you can see this one isn't straight. It has this kind of kick to it, whereas this one is straight. They both line up on the same plane because they have a little bit of a bend to them. It's very hard to see, to compare them. So it's just going to be a matter of which one fits best, I guess. I do also have to decide what I'm going to paint the chassis with. The paint I've used on the front axle and the springs, everything like that, is just engine enamel. It's Duplicolor semi-gloss black, but I actually like how it looks. It's kind of a very clean finish. My personal opinion, I've seen a lot of these cars, a lot of replicas where everything is painted, and they do look nice. It's not a bad finish. I'm not sure exactly how they did it from the factory, but they always look a little bit too much to me, a bit over restored. So, I mean, this is effectively a race car. So I'm wondering if I should just go for more of that kind of look and just plain black over the whole thing, at least for the running gear and the chassis. And then I can do the body a different color if I really want to. I don't know how correct that is for a factory car, but like I say, these were kind of race cars, so you would expect them to be bought, stripped down, modified, changed around. And I don't know how it worked back in the day then. If you were building a race car, did you bother too much about how it looked when it was painted, or did they just slap them together and take them out racing? But it's hard to know. But I do like that just sort of matte black finish. And it's much easier to maintain as well, because if anything gets chipped or dinged, I can just repaint it. The weather's actually turning quite bad here, so it's starting to rain, but hopefully it's not too loud. So I have this little table so I can set up bits and pieces on top of there. The other thing I was going to mention is I did manage to get hold of some of this Fernox F1, which it's used for central heating and inside radiators to stop corrosion. But apparently this works really well in these vintage car cooling systems. I've mentioned before we don't have to worry about freezing here, so I think some of this will do really well inside the car. And you don't need much of it. The percentage is 0.5%, I think. So if it wasn't raining, I would take this outside and I would have changed the coolant in it. But that'll have to be done another day. The MG, the water pump, I haven't been able to take it for a test drive, again because the weather's bad, but it isn't leaking, so that's good. The other thing is I did try blowing through the little drain hole on the new one, and it was sealed. There wasn't any, you couldn't blow through it like I could on the one that had failed. So somebody helpfully left a comment explaining what this remote shifter was. It's actually a remote from, I think it was a Triumph Spitfire or Herald, something like that. And I'm pretty sure it's been modified here for the Riley. So there's actually a little bit of a hole there. This is the standard one for, I believe, the silent third gearbox. This is the one I had originally, which does fit my gearbox and does work. It looks like this is one of these just cut down with this plate added to it for this to bolt to. So this is actually, it's quite nice. This bit of it is quite nicely made. I still haven't figured out how I've managed to get these locked up. It's almost a bit like a puzzle. This one isn't. This one is working. You can sort of see on the gate here. So that side's the front of the car. This is first, second, third and fourth. So you can see there's not a lot of movement there. And these go on to the silent third gearbox. And I'm not exactly sure why it's called a silent third gearbox, but I believe it's because of this bit. So if I've got this correct, first gear is this piece disengaged. So I believe the position I've got it in now is neutral. There's enough drag on there that it does turn, but you can see this is the output, this is the input. You can see the input isn't turning there because nothing's engaged. That would be first. So you're going from the smaller input gear to the larger output. Second is like that. So you can see it goes to the smaller gear here. Third, I believe, is engaged like that. And I think this is why they call it the silent third. Because there's no... This and this rotate together. You can't rotate them separately. So to go into third, that just goes straight in, I think. And I believe that's why they call it a silent third. Top gear is through these dogs here. So that would be effectively a 1-to-1 ratio. It just locks it all the way through. I believe that's how it works. I may have that wrong, but it kind of explains it. I think I've mentioned this before. Anytime my hands are dirty and greasy, I wipe them on the string on the steering wheel just to add patina to it. But I think that's kind of where I'm at in here. Everything that should be in here is in here. Like I say, I'm just kind of figuring out where things need to live, where things need to go. But you can see I've got plenty of space. Which is good, because when it comes to building the body of this car, I've got room to move around. So, you know, it'll be possible. Probably what I'll end up doing is the MG will end up parking over there. I think this middle bay is slightly wider than the two side ones, but that'll fit in there no problem. And then I've got all of the space here. The chassis would probably end up rolling forwards, and then I've got the room here near my sheet metal working tools to start building the body. And it just makes it easier to build the body, and then I can lift the body. You know, if I need to, I've got my girder, so I can put straps under the body. This whole thing rolls forwards and backwards. So it'll make it easy for me working by myself to build the body and be able to lift it up and down, slide it forwards and backwards, drop it onto the chassis. That's the plan anyway. The weather's turning kind of bad at the moment. Obviously we haven't done much in the garden yet, so it's really quite mushy and it's all muddy and pretty gross everywhere. So my little lab here is getting a bit muddy, but that's okay. A friend of mine wanted to see more inside it, so this is it now. I've got it set up a little bit better. I do have it on wide angle on the phone, so it distorts a little bit, but it's the only way to really see everything. The actual cabin itself is, I think it's 2.4 meters across by 4.8 long. And same as with in the big shed, I think I have most of the stuff I want to be in here. It's just a matter of sort of organizing it all and getting it sorted out. But generally, it's coming along pretty well. I mentioned buying different sorts of shelving. This was some shelving that I got from Repco. It was on special, actually. That's the only reason I got it. This uses sort of similar to those other shelves, tabs that go into slots, so it's pretty easy to put together. This one just happens to be powder coated black, but these things are all kind of the same. They're all more or less the same dimensions. You get 5 of these 9mm MDF shelves, and you can sort of assemble them in different ways. So you could either assemble this as a tall bookshelf. I assembled it as 2 separate ones and then put the separate MDF board on top, so that it will support my little laser cutter and my 3D printer. The 3D printer is up and running. It still needs a lot of tweaking just to get it to work nicely again. They always do. They're very fiddly machines, to be honest. This is kind of my little electronics setup. So soldering iron, oscilloscope, hot air gun. There's a power supply down there, various bits and pieces. This is just a little PC I put together from junk, basically. No, the cover's fallen off it, but this is the main PC here. I believe that was being thrown out from Weta Workshop when I was there. So that was rescued off the scrap pile. It took me a while, but I found I was still able to install Windows 7 on it. So I did that. It was very slow. I discovered the machine only had 2 gig of RAM. I hunted through some of my old parts boxes, which are actually all underneath there now, and discovered another couple of RAM sticks. So I put those in there. It's got 2 gig, 4 gig now, I think. So it actually works a lot better. But then I made the mistake of upgrading it to Windows 8, and I actually have a legitimate install of Windows 8, so I've put that on it, forgetting that Windows 8 is a bit crappy in terms of OS and the way it works, but it is actually faster than Windows 7. So for what I need it for, which is just basic web browsing, basic 3D printer, sending stuff to there, possibly I'll hook the laser cutter up to it as well. It works fine. It just saves me having to drag my laptop backwards and forwards between the house and here, having a dedicated machine. So I am upgrading it to Windows 8.1, which is going to take forever to download apparently. So this is for electronics and soldering, wireless keyboard, wireless mouse, so I can throw those out of the way. Just some shelving and bits and pieces. Fire extinguisher up on the wall, always handy. Vacuum cleaner, I just have to make sure I don't get them confused when I go to grab one. This is for model making and other electronics assembly type stuff. So when I had this little cabin built, I had lots of PowerPoints put in. There's four sets of 2, one down there, over there, and then another one here. So I've actually been able to set it up and get all my little machines and gadgets and bits and pieces up and running. This is my little 6502 computer I built, the little Orwell computer. Lives under there. Most of my electronic stuff is in here. Other bits of electronics, magazine, model making stuff, models, that's all up there. The 3D printing stuff all kind of lives under there, and there's just storage under there. That big box on top is actually the box I keep all my filament in because it's sealable, and I can keep some like damper stuff in there to keep the filament dry, which is pretty important. So I've still got quite a lot of space on the shelves. I'm still organizing it. I want to replace all these cardboard boxes and old shoe boxes and just random boxes of stuff with proper decent storage boxes when I get around to it. But you can see there's actually quite a bit of space still, which is good. So yeah, I've actually got things set up and working now. The Enigma machine is in here somewhere. I'm not actually sure where it is. I can remember the box that it's in. Actually, that may still be in the house, but now that I'm set up, hopefully I can start working on that again. But I've got a few other little projects. This was the cloud chamber I was working on. Peltier based cloud chamber. Obviously this is all working, it just needs finishing and putting in a nice housing, but that works. I do need to get a few more extension leads and multi-outlet power things. Normally I wouldn't have cables running like that, but if I just unplug this so I don't trip over it. Those 2 boxes are sort of unfinished projects, so I need to, one of them was this, lives in one of those boxes, so if I can finish these I can get them up out of the way, and then when this is finished there's plenty of space up here on the shelving for it. But this is my Van de Graaff generator. I did have various little speed controllers in there, but the problem is the high voltage just zaps them, it just kills them. And I actually managed to kill the display on my little power supply there. But that does work. I'm probably just going to get some sort of transformer, make a very simple no electronics power supply for it to drive the thing. This works reasonably well. It probably wouldn't work too well today because it's so humid, because it's raining, but it's quite good to have this set up again somewhere where it can actually run it. If we turn the lights off, you can see some of the other bits and pieces. This was just a lamp I made that was the main lamp in my house for a long time. This is a plasma lamp that I think I made when I was about 15, 16 from an article from a silicon chip magazine. It's interesting, it made my little USB power supply come on. You can see that's the bulb from a compact fluorescent. It's just the RF from the plasma lamp making that glow. This was just a giant light bulb. So this is made using a flyback transformer from an old black and white TV. So it'd actually be kind of tricky building one of these now, because it's hard to find those same transformers now. But like I say, I built this years ago and I've had it for years and it's still running, which is cool. This was kind of a GPS lamp thing. There's not really much to see there. This one is quite dangerous. So this is a Jacob's ladder, which if it's going to work, I know it's safe to touch it. When it's running, it's not safe to touch it at all. It would electrocute you. So I keep meaning to get some kind of acrylic tube or glass tube for it to make it a bit safer. There's not really anything to these. It's basically a neon sign transformer inside there. So high voltage, quite high current to cause the arc. But turn the lights back on. That's kind of it. So it's really nice to now have this set up and ready to go and ready for me to be able to do stuff in here. I'm still, like I say, I'm still organising. It'll take ages to figure out where things should go and where the best place for everything is, how it should all go together. But I'm slowly getting there. Just in case you're wondering, none of this is live ammunition. It's all used ammunition. Yeah, that's pretty much it.